Imagine strolling down the bustling streets of a foreign city, hungry and curious, looking for a taste of home. But to your surprise, some of your favorite American munchies are nowhere to be found. Well, it just turns out that some of the staples of the US diet have stirred up a culinary commotion worldwide, leading to their bans in several countries. From the ooey-gooey charm of boxed mac and cheese to the crispy allure of potato chips, these American foods have faced scrutiny and rejection in various corners of the world. Number 7. American M&Ms. Alright, let's talk candy, specifically those delightful melt-in-your-mouth M&Ms. Now, you might be surprised to learn that in some corners of Europe, these colorful little orbs are met with some raised eyebrows. In countries like Sweden and Norway, M&Ms face a bit of what I'll call a candy problem. Now, why would these innocently delicious candies be banned? It all boils down to those artificial dyes, particularly red 40 and yellow 6, that give these sweets their vibrant hues. While they make candies pop with color, some health regulatory bodies worry about potential health risks tied to these dyes. Studies have shown that artificial food dyes like red 40 and yellow 6 may be linked to hyperactivity in children, allergic reactions in sensitive individuals, and even increased risks of bladder cancer and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder known as ADHD. Now, don't get me wrong, Americans have been happily munching on these colorful candies for decades without a second thought, even me. But these countries have chosen to be a bit more cautious and instead opt for candy options with a simpler, more natural ingredient list. Number 6. Boxed mac and cheese. One of America's most beloved comfort foods, mac and cheese. You know the one, those macaronis that turn a bright, sunshine yellow with just a splash of water and a powdery packet of cheese mix. This stuff is practically a national treasure. We whip it up for family dinners, college dorm meals, and sometimes just because it's Tuesday. But believe it or not, in places like the United Kingdom and Australia, they're not quite sold on the idea. Why, you ask? Well, the problem is in the colors. You see, those vibrant noodles get their shade from artificial dyes, specifically yellow 5 and yellow 6. It's what gives them that unmistakable bright hue. But here's the thing, your favorite box of mac and cheese also contains a chemical called phthalates, which isn't really healthy. A study from the Environment Health Strategy Center showed that the phthalates concentrations in mac and cheese were 4 times higher than that of block cheese or other natural cheeses. And the worst part? This chemical is believed to disrupt the proper development of the male genitals during pregnancy. Yikes. Number 5. USA's chicken. I bet you're shocked to see this beloved American staple on the list. Well, there's a reason for that. In the United States, it's pretty normal to give chicken a quick chlorine bath to zap away any pesky bacteria. But guess what? Over in Europe, they're not exactly fans of this chlorine treatment. Why? Well, it comes down to how they do things in the coop. In the US, chicken farmers use chlorine to make sure the birds are squeaky clean and safe to eat. However, this sparked a big debate on the other side of the Atlantic in the European Union. The EU decided that using chlorine to disinfect chicken wasn't the way to go because there could be residuals of the chlorine even after washing it. And when consumed, it can lead to irritation of the throat, nose, and eyes, and in more severe cases, it can cause nausea and vomiting. Another reason for the ban on American chicken is that they are sometimes fed with arsenic, which is what makes it look pink and fresh, even when it isn't. Here's an example. You know how chickens stay way past their expiry dates on supermarket shelves, yet they somehow remain so fresh? Well, it's no magic, because they use arsenic. And here's what you need to know. Arsenic is very poisonous and could literally kill you if you ingest too much of it. So instead, European chicken gets its safety credentials in a different way. They put a lot of emphasis on making sure the chicken coops and processing plants are super clean. They also pay close attention to how the chicken is handled from farm to table. Number 4. Coffee Mate. Coffee Mate, the trusty sidekick of morning coffee lovers everywhere. It's like a warm, creamy hug for your cup of joe. But did you know that in some countries, this creamy concoction isn't met with open arms? Countries like Switzerland, Hungary, Austria, Denmark, Norway, and Iceland have a more cautious approach to additives in food products. Coffee Mate, with its various flavors and long shelf life, contains ingredients like sodium caseinate, which is a protein derived from milk, which raises eyebrows among those with lactose intolerance or allergies. Additionally, the use of hydrogenated oils in some versions of Coffee Mate has caused concern. These oils contain trans fats, which have been linked to health issues like heart disease. Understandably, countries like Denmark have taken a firm stance against these artificial fats, leading to the absence of Coffee Mate on their supermarket shelves. But hey, no need to worry. There are always alternatives like real cream or milk for that perfect morning pick-me-up. And for those who can't do without their trusty Coffee Mate, well, you might just have to stock up before you venture abroad. After all, a good cup of coffee knows no borders. Number 3. Skittles. In the United States, they're practically a candy aisle legend. However, when it comes to the European Union, Skittles face a bit of a roadblock. You see, the EU has some strict rules about food colorings. Skittles, like many other candies, get their vibrant hues from a mix of artificial dyes. But one of those dyes, known as tartrazine, or E102 on the label, doesn't get a warm welcome in the EU. They've raised concerns about its potential link to hyperactivity in children, leading to the exclusion of this particular dye from their candy repertoire. So, when you're munching on a handful of Skittles in the States, you're enjoying the full rainbow. But if you find yourself across the pond, you might notice a slightly different shade of the rainbow on the candy shelves. Number 2. Prepackaged ground beef. Alright, let's talk beef. You know, the stuff that makes your burgers and meatballs a hit at the dinner table. Now, in the US, it's no big deal to pick up a neat package of ground beef at your local grocery store. It's convenient, it's quick, and it's ready for all your culinary adventures. But hop on a plane and head over to Canada or the European Union, and you'll notice something interesting. Prepackaged ground beef isn't as readily available. They're pretty fussy about how their meat gets from farm to plate, and they've got their reasons. You see, in the EU, they're all about making sure that meat stays squeaky clean and safe for consumption. They're concerned about the whole process, from the way the animals are raised to how the meat is processed and packaged. It's a bit like they want to know the life story of that burger before it hits the grill. Also, prepackaged meat usually has a pink slime, which is an additive that gives it its significant bright color, lowers the overall fat content, and kills off bacteria. Now, pink slime does not necessarily pose severe health concerns, but health professionals believe some traces of ammonia on the meat aren't really good for consumption. So, when it comes to ground beef in these countries, they prefer to have it freshly ground right there in the store or at your friendly neighborhood butcher. That way, they can keep a closer eye on the whole production process, making sure everything meets their standards of hygiene and safety. Number 1. Cheese. Finally, cheese, that creamy, dreamy delight that makes everything better, whether it's sprinkled on a pizza or elegantly draped over a plate of pasta. But did you know that there's a cheese controversy that spans continents? In the United States, there's a bit of caution when it comes to cheese made from raw milk. Raw milk cheese is crafted from unpasteurized milk, which means it hasn't undergone the heating process that kills off potentially harmful bacteria. Because of this, some types of raw milk cheese have faced bans or restrictions. But across the pond in Europe, they're all about raw milk cheese. In fact, they've been making and enjoying this stuff for centuries. Why? Well, the Europeans believe that raw milk gives the cheese a more complex and unique flavor. It's like a cheese adventure for your taste buds. The thing is, it's not just about the taste, it's also about tradition and craftsmanship. European cheesemakers have been doing this for generations, and they're super proud of their cheese. And who can blame them? When you've got a centuries-old recipe for delicious cheese, you want to keep the tradition alive. But the debate rages on. So, should you prioritize safety and pasteurize the milk, or let the raw milk work its magic? What's your take?